Hustle until it happens. You want to achieve something extraordinary, then stop waiting for permission. Nobody is coming to hand you the blueprint. Nobody is going to push you out of bed at 5 a.m. or keep you at the desk at midnight. That's on you. The truth is, success is messy. It's uncomfortable. It's not Instagram quotes and glossy highlight reels. It's late nights with no guarantee that what you're building will even work. It's facing down people who say you're crazy and still pushing forward because you know the alternative, doing nothing, is worse. Most people underestimate how much energy it actually takes. They work until it gets hard, then they quit. That's the difference between maybe someday and it actually happened. The grind doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired. It rewards one thing: persistence. You don't get too extraordinary by dabbling. You get there by obsession, by being willing to do the unglamorous things again and again, until suddenly people call you lucky. Luck? No. It's hours, days, years of relentless pressure applied in the same direction. Think about it. Every breakthrough, every massive leap started with someone who refused to quit when logic said to. The only real failure is stopping before it happens. So, hustle, not once, not for a week. Not until it's convenient. Hustle until it happens. Then keep hustling, because the moment you stop, you're done. The future is built by people who stay in motion. Be one of them. Here are 4 sharp keynote points for hustle until it happens. 1. Obsession beats talent. Success comes from relentless focus, not just raw ability. 2. Pain is the price tag. Discomfort and failure are proof you're pushing hard enough. 3. Persistence compounds. Small daily grind creates the overnight success everyone admires. 4. Motion builds momentum. Keep moving even when uncertain, because stopping kills progress. Obsession beats talent. This is one of the most misunderstood truths about success, because people love to glamorize natural ability. They see someone who can code faster than anyone else, or who sketches a design in seconds that looks like it belongs in the future, or who seems to pick up new skills with no effort, and they assume that talent is the decisive factor. But talent on its own is nothing more than potential. Potential without obsession dies in the middle of the road. It never makes it past the first wall, never survives the first real test. What separates people who actually build something that lasts from those who stop halfway is not the size of their gift, but the intensity of their drive. Obsession is the multiplier that turns ordinary capability into extraordinary results. When you are obsessed, you stop operating on the same clock as everyone else. Time bends because the thing you're building consumes you. You don't check the time wondering if the day is almost done. You look up at the clock and wonder how it's already 3 in the morning. Obsession redefines your baseline. It takes the hours most people waste scrolling, drifting, hesitating, and it converts them into momentum. This is not about working harder for the sake of appearances. It's about building a state where your mind refuses to let go of the problem until it's solved. When people say genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, what they are really describing is obsession at work. Talent is fragile. It can make someone arrogant, lazy, or reliant on being the smartest in the room. Obsession doesn't allow that, because obsession constantly reminds you that what you want is still far away. It doesn't matter if you are good at something. If you are not obsessed, you will eventually meet someone with less talent who refuses to stop, and they will surpass you. The world is filled with talented people who never built anything meaningful. It is also filled with people who were dismissed as average, but their obsession carried them through thousands of hours of iteration until suddenly they were standing at the top. Obsession is the great equalizer, and in the long run it beats talent every single time. Consider how innovation actually happens. It doesn't come from someone who had a single brilliant thought and then stopped there. It comes from someone who couldn't stop thinking about the idea, someone who carried it around in their head every day until they turned it into reality. They read every article, tested every prototype, endured every failed version, and still came back the next morning to try again. Obsession turns curiosity into mastery. It takes a scattered thought and builds an empire around it. When you look at every great invention, every company that reshaped an industry, every disruptive leap forward, behind it you will find a mind that refused to shut down. People are afraid of obsession because it looks extreme. It looks like imbalance. It means saying no to things that seem normal, weekends, distractions, comfort. But that's the cost of playing at a higher level. You can't chase big outcomes with casual effort. Obsession demands sacrifices, but those sacrifices are what filter out the majority. Most people want success as long as it fits neatly into a 9-to-5 box. They want achievement, but not if it interferes with relaxation. They want growth, but not at the cost of discomfort. The truth is, the ceiling of your success is directly tied to the depth of your obsession. If you want to reach beyond what's common, you have to be willing to live in uncommon ways. Think about athletes who train long after everyone else has gone home. Think about engineers who spend weekends tearing apart their prototypes to figure out why they failed. Think about creators who draft 100 versions of something most people will never see. That's not raw talent at work, that's obsession carrying them through the grind. Talent got them to the starting line, but obsession is what carries them to the finish. Obsession is not glamorous while it's happening. It is late nights, messy drafts, endless revisions, and a cycle of failure and refinement that most people can't tolerate. But when you look at the result, when the breakthrough finally shows up, people will call it brilliant. What they don't realize is that brilliance was built one obsessive hour at a time. The most dangerous thing you can do is believe that talent is enough. That belief makes you complacent. It tricks you into thinking the world will make space for you just because you're gifted. But the world doesn't care how gifted you are. The world rewards those who refuse to stop. If you're talented but casual, you will always be outrun by someone less talented but obsessed. It is inevitable because obsession creates volume. It creates the sheer number of attempts required to stumble into excellence. You can't fake volume, you can't cut the thousands of repetitions it takes to master something. Talent might let you learn faster in the beginning, but obsession ensures you never stop learning. That is why over time, obsession is the unstoppable force. Obsession isn't something you manufacture out of thin air. It comes from alignment. When the thing you're chasing actually matters to you, when it speaks to you on a level that feels non-negotiable, obsession grows naturally. You don't have to force yourself to think about it. You can't stop thinking about it. That is the kind of fuel that burns long enough to carry you through years, not weeks. People often ask how to stay motivated, but motivation is shallow. Obsession is deep. Motivation fades when you're tired or discouraged. Obsession doesn't care. Obsession keeps you at the desk anyway. Obsession is not about feeling good. It's about refusing to let go. It's important to understand that obsession does not guarantee success on the first try or even the 10th. In fact, obsession almost guarantees that you will fail more often than others, simply because you're attempting more. But each failure becomes data. Each rejection is another day to point you feedback into the system, another iteration in the process. This cycle, repeated thousands of times, sharpens you in ways talent alone never could. Obsession gives you the resilience to absorb failure and turn it into progress, whereas talent without obsession collapses under the weight of frustration. In every field, you can trace the line between people who plateau and people who break through, and that line is always obsession. The plateau comes when effort is convenient. The breakthrough comes when effort becomes compulsive. Obsession isn't about balance, it's about weight. It's about putting so much weight on one side of the scale that the rest of your life has to adjust around it. That level of commitment looks unreasonable from the outside, but from the inside it feels necessary, inevitable, almost like oxygen. Pain is the price tag. Every ambitious goal comes with a hidden cost, and that cost is discomfort, frustration, and struggle. People want success to be clean, efficient, and predictable, but reality doesn't operate that way. Every meaningful breakthrough is purchased with pain. That's the part no one puts in the highlight reel. Behind the glamorous launch or the finished product are countless hours where nothing worked, where doubt screamed louder than progress, where the temptation to quit was almost irresistible. The reason so few achieve extraordinary results is not because they lack intelligence or resources. It's because they are unwilling to pay the price of pain. Pain is not just physical, it is psychological, emotional, and mental. It's the exhaustion of working longer than you thought possible. It's the sting of hearing critics dismiss your idea as foolish. It's the embarrassment of releasing something imperfect and having it fail in public. It's the frustration of watching competitors move faster while you're stuck trying to fix a problem that refuses to be solved. Pain shows up in many forms, and each time it appears, you have a choice. Either pay the price and keep going, or walk away with nothing. The people who build empires are not the ones who avoided pain, but the ones who leaned into it, absorbed it, and used it as fuel. Discomfort is not a sign that you are failing. It is evidence that you are stretching. The human body and mind grow only under stress. Muscles tear and rebuild stronger. Skills sharpen under repetition that feels endless. Confidence grows when you face situations that scare you and refuse to retreat. Every painful moment is a down payment on the future you are trying to build. Without it, nothing happens. People crave growth without sacrifice, but the equation doesn't work that way. The universe doesn't hand out rewards for free. Pain is the currency, and the bigger the goal, the higher the price. Most people underestimate the sheer weight of that price. They imagine that the journey will be hard, but not this hard. They expect obstacles, but not a constant barrage. They are ready for some rejection, but not years of it. And when reality delivers more pain than expected, they back out, deciding the dream was too expensive. But that's the moment when the field clears, when those who can endure push past the majority and keep moving. Pain weeds out the casual, it separates the daydreamers from the builders. It creates a natural filter that ensures only those who truly want it will keep paying. Pain is also misunderstood because people assume it is permanent. They think the suffering will last forever, that the exhaustion will never fade, that the setbacks will never stop coming. But pain is temporary, while the results it buys can be permanent. The hours you spend grinding may feel endless, but they are constructing a foundation. The failures may feel humiliating, but they are building resilience. The discomfort may feel unbearable, but it is shaping the version of you that can actually handle success when it arrives. People want shortcuts to bypass pain, but shortcuts only produce fragile results. When pain is avoided, the foundation is weak. When pain is embraced, the structure becomes unshakable. Pain also changes your relationship with yourself. It reveals your real limits, not the ones you assumed you had. When you push through discomfort, you find that you are capable of far more than you believed. The ceiling you thought existed was just a mental barrier. Every time you endure something you once thought impossible, you raise your tolerance, and suddenly challenges that used to terrify you become manageable. Pain builds confidence not through positive thinking, but through undeniable evidence that you survived and grew stronger. It strips away illusions and replaces them with proof. Consider the entrepreneurs who spend years failing before they find the right model, or the artists who create 100 works before one resonates, or the athletes who train through injuries and exhaustion just to shave off a fraction of a second. What all of them share is a willingness to keep paying the toll. They don't get discounts, they don't get passes, they suffer, they endure, and they keep moving. Pain is not an accident on their path, it is the path. The public only sees the final victory, but the hidden ledger shows years of payments made in sweat, in rejection, in late nights, and in sacrifice. Pain also exposes whether you truly care about what you're chasing. If the vision isn't strong enough, pain will knock you out. You'll decide it's not worth it, and you'll retreat to comfort. But if the vision is real, pain will not scare you away. It will remind you that the goal matters. Pain is a signal. It asks, are you serious about this, or are you just curious? Most people are curious. They like the idea of success, but they don't love it enough to suffer for it. Only those who answer yes to that question, who accept that pain is part of the deal, ever see the other side. Pain is not something to romanticize. It's not fun, it's not glamorous, and it should never be mistaken for the goal itself. But it is necessary. Those who deny it, who try to find the painless path, are chasing illusions. Every real accomplishment is built on a foundation of painful effort. The difference is that those who endure long enough start to see pain differently. They stop resenting it and start recognizing it as progress. The burn in your muscles after a workout is proof you trained hard. The sting of rejection is proof you're putting yourself in the arena. The frustration of failure is proof you're pushing boundaries instead of playing safe. Pain becomes a metric, a measure of how much further you're reaching than the average person. The paradox is that once you accept pain as the price tag, it loses some of its power. It doesn't catch you off guard anymore. You expect it, you budget for it, you treat it the way a business treats expenses, necessary costs of operation. And when you start thinking like that, pain becomes less of a barrier and more of a checkpoint. You stop asking, why is this so hard, and start asking, am I willing to keep paying? The answer to that question determines everything. Persistence compounds. This is a principle that most people underestimate because it's invisible in the short term. When you start a project, a business, a skill, or a habit, the effects of your effort are almost never immediate. The world doesn't reward bursts of intensity or occasional brilliance. It rewards consistency over time. Persistence is the repeated application of effort, day after day, week after week, year after year, in ways that accumulate into results far larger than anyone could predict. It is the slow compounding of work, the principle that small actions repeated relentlessly build outcomes exponentially, not linearly. People often look for shortcuts or instant success, but the truth is that mastery, growth, and achievement are the product of long-term persistence. The compounding effect of persistence is subtle at first. You might feel like you are barely moving, like your work is going unnoticed, like nothing is happening. That is the illusion. Every hour you spend learning, testing, iterating, failing, adjusting, and trying again is laying a foundation. Each repetition, each attempt, each small improvement is not wasted. It is quietly stacking. Persistence does not announce itself with fireworks. It whispers. And if you stop listening, you may never realize how far you could have gone. People confuse immediate results with real results, and that is why many give up too early. Persistence compounds because of momentum. The more you invest in an idea or a skill, the easier it becomes to keep going. The first steps are always the hardest because you are building from zero. You stumble, you doubt yourself, you feel out of place. But the longer you persist, the more the environment adjusts to your effort. Your mind and your skills adapt. Your routines become automatic. Your capacity grows, and suddenly what once seemed impossible begins to feel inevitable. That is the magic of compounding persistence. It starts as laborious, but over time it accelerates. Consider the work of someone learning a new skill. The first few months are brutal. You make mistakes constantly. You feel clumsy, incompetent, inadequate. But if you persist, those hours start to stack. Each mistake teaches something new. Each repetition strengthens neural pathways. Each small victory reinforces confidence. After a year, you are no longer starting from scratch. You are building on a mountain of accumulated experience. That mountain is invisible to outsiders who only see the polished result at the end, not the thousands of hours that created it. The compounding effect is deceptive because the foundation is hidden until it is strong enough to support remarkable outcomes. Persistence compounds in business too. Most successful ventures are not the result of a single stroke of genius. They are the result of decades of effort, trial and error, pivoting, learning, and persistence. Investors, observers, and critics often see a sudden breakthrough and call it luck, but luck is merely the visible tip of a very large, persistent iceberg. Behind the breakthrough is relentless work, iterations, failures, dead ends, and stubborn commitment to a vision. Persistence turns effort into expertise, and expertise turns expertise into leverage. Each small advantage gained is compounded over time, creating exponential growth that appears sudden to the outside world, but is the natural result of consistent effort. Persistence also compounds in relationships and reputation. People who consistently deliver value, show up, and keep their promises develop credibility that grows over time. You can't fake this. It is not about charm or charisma. It is about showing up when it would be easier to walk away, about making the effort when it would be easier to coast, about maintaining standards even when no one is watching. Reputation is the accumulation of persistent choices, and compounding in this context means that the trust and respect you earn today multiplies into opportunities and influence tomorrow. Small, persistent actions create networks, alliances, and opportunities that appear disproportionate to the initial effort. The compounding effect of persistence works in personal growth as well. Reading 1 page a day, learning 1 concept a week, practicing a skill 10 minutes a day, these seemingly tiny actions grow into mastery over time. The key is that they are repeated, not abandoned. People often underestimate this because they expect dramatic, immediate results. They start strong but quit when they see minimal progress. But persistence doesn't work like instant gratification. It works silently, invisibly, until the day arrives when the results become undeniable. That is the nature of compounding: slow, steady, invisible, unstoppable once it reaches critical mass. Persistence compounds because it creates feedback loops. The longer you keep trying, the more information you collect, the better your adjustments become, and the more refined your strategy grows. Every failure becomes data. Every attempt teaches something new. Every repetition strengthens your skill. And because each step builds on the previous one, small incremental gains accumulate exponentially. This is why people who persist appear to leap ahead after years of apparent stagnation. They are not leaping, they are standing on the invisible foundation created by compounding effort. Another key aspect is that persistence compounds your resilience. The challenges, setbacks, and failures you face are opportunities to strengthen your capacity. The longer you persist, the more resistant you become to obstacles. Pain becomes tolerable, complexity becomes manageable, and uncertainty becomes navigable. Each challenge survived compounds your ability to handle the next one. Over time, this resilience becomes a competitive advantage that is nearly impossible to replicate. Talent may get someone to the starting line, but persistence compounds resilience to carry them through the finish. Persistence compounds in influence as well. When you continue showing up, providing insight, and delivering results, people begin to notice. Your voice gains weight, your advice gains credibility, and your example gains power. Influence is rarely instant. It is the accumulated effect of repeated action and demonstration over time. Each small effort compounds into reputation, visibility, and authority. People who persist create networks of trust that amplify their work far beyond what a single effort could accomplish. The multiplier effect of persistence applies not only to tangible results, but also to intangible assets like respect, authority, and legacy. The compounding effect of persistence is not linear. It does not give proportional returns for proportional effort. Early in the process, it may feel unrewarding. The work seems to produce little outcome, but this is deceptive. The value is quietly accumulating. The trajectory curves upward, not in a straight line, and at some point momentum takes over. What once required immense effort now yields outsized results. People often misjudge this curve, quitting just before the acceleration happens. The irony is that if they had persisted a little longer, they would have experienced the exponential payoff. Persistence compounds in confidence as well. The act of enduring, learning, failing, adjusting, and repeating proves to yourself that you can handle challenges. Confidence grows not from declarations but from repeated evidence that you can persist when the outcome is uncertain. Each success, no matter how small, adds weight to your belief in yourself, and this self-belief compounds, allowing you to take on larger challenges that would have been intimidating at the start. The process is cyclical. Persistence builds confidence, which enables further persistence, which compounds into greater success. Vision is the compass that guides relentless effort. Without a clear vision, persistence becomes wandering, hard work becomes exhausting, and struggle becomes meaningless. A vision is not just a goal, it is a mental picture of a future that pulls you forward, even when the present is painful and progress seems invisible. It is a mental framework that aligns effort, decision making, and risk-taking. People often confuse vague ambition with vision, but ambition without clarity is like a ship adrift at sea. True vision provides direction, focus, and an internal map of where you are headed, even when the path is obscured by uncertainty. Vision is what allows you to endure the monotony and pain that accompany progress. When the work is difficult, the nights are long, and setbacks pile up, it is the vision that reminds you why it matters. It is the mental image of a transformed future that keeps you moving when logic alone would tell you to quit. A compelling vision transforms effort into purpose and struggle into training. It makes the impossible feel necessary and the mundane feel meaningful. People who lack vision often burn out because effort without context is exhausting. Vision provides context. It frames challenges as part of a larger story, giving meaning to the daily grind. A vision is also inherently motivating because it connects to something bigger than yourself. It taps into your sense of legacy, your desire to create impact, and your need to contribute. When your vision resonates deeply, the pain and sacrifice are not just tolerated, they are embraced. The discomfort of long hours, repeated failures, and criticism becomes fuel because you are not merely working for short-term rewards. You are building toward a future that matters. This is why people with strong vision outlast those who chase transient incentives, recognition, or immediate gratification. Vision aligns action with significance. Clarity of vision sharpens decision-making. When you know what you are ultimately trying to achieve, it becomes easier to prioritize, to say no, and to allocate resources wisely. Every opportunity can be evaluated against the standard of whether it moves you closer to the vision. Without this clarity, distractions, detours, and superficial tasks consume energy and time. The power of vision is that it acts as a filter, enabling you to focus on the work that matters most. It converts strategy into instinct because choices become guided by an internal North Star rather than reactive impulses. Vision also interacts with persistence and pain in a compounding way. The clearer your vision, the easier it is to endure the pain and maintain persistence. The vision magnifies your willingness to pay the price because it frames the cost in the context of a meaningful outcome. Pain without vision is demoralizing. Persistence without vision is mechanical. Effort without vision is wasted. But when vision is present, each hardship becomes an investment, each repeated effort compounds, and each setback becomes a lesson that moves you closer to the ultimate goal. Another aspect of vision is its ability to inspire others. A strong, well-communicated vision attracts people who share your perspective, values, and drive. It builds teams, communities, and networks of support because humans are drawn to purpose. When you articulate a compelling future, it becomes a rallying point. People are willing to endure hardship, take risks, and contribute effort not just because of the leader or entrepreneur, but because of the vision itself. Vision multiplies impact by aligning individual efforts toward a shared destination, creating a force far greater than any single person could generate. Vision is also dynamic. It is not rigid or fixed, but adaptable in response to feedback, new information, and changing circumstances. A vision that is too narrow risks becoming irrelevant. A vision that is too vague risks being meaningless. The best vision evolves while maintaining its core essence. It is a living guide, flexible enough to respond to obstacles, market changes, or technological shifts, but anchored enough to provide continuity and direction. This balance between clarity and adaptability allows vision to remain relevant even in chaotic environments, sustaining effort and focus over the long term. Vision strengthens resilience by providing meaning to adversity. Challenges, failures, and criticism become less threatening when viewed through the lens of a larger purpose. Every obstacle can be reframed as an opportunity to learn, adjust, and grow in service of the ultimate goal. People with vision do not see failure as a dead end. They see it as feedback, a chance to iterate, and a moment that builds character. The vision creates psychological resilience because it situates temporary pain within a broader trajectory of growth and achievement. Vision also compels creativity and innovation. When the endpoint is vivid, the mind begins to explore unconventional paths to reach it. Limitations, constraints, and scarcity are reframed as challenges to overcome rather than barriers to surrender. The clarity of vision encourages problem solving at higher levels, prompting exploration of untested methods, breakthrough thinking, and bold experimentation. Those without vision may settle for incremental improvement or safe choices, but vision-driven individuals are willing to challenge norms and reinvent approaches in pursuit of a transformative outcome. A strong vision provides a metric for progress that goes beyond conventional measurement. Success is not judged solely by profits, accolades, or immediate results, but by how effectively you are moving toward your envisioned future. Vision shifts focus from short-term validation to long-term impact. It prioritizes meaningful milestones over superficial victories. This shift in perspective changes behavior, effort allocation, and persistence because it emphasizes trajectory over temporary outcomes. The path becomes more important than isolated wins because each step compounds toward the larger picture. Vision cultivates discipline by defining boundaries. It creates criteria for what is worth attention and what is not. Every action can be evaluated against whether it serves the vision or detracts from it. Discipline becomes natural when guided by a compelling mental picture of the future. Without vision, discipline is a chore and focus is easily broken. With vision, discipline is purposeful and sustainable because it is intrinsically tied to achieving something that genuinely matters. People who achieve extraordinary outcomes consistently exhibit this alignment between vision, effort, and self-regulation. Vision also reduces fear and indecision. When the endpoint is clear, uncertainty about the next step diminishes. You may not know the precise path, but the presence of vision gives confidence that each choice, iteration, and adjustment is a move toward a meaningful destination. Fear of failure is mitigated because vision contextualizes setbacks as part of the journey. Indecision is minimized because options can be assessed according to whether they advance the vision or distract from it. This clarity creates a psychological advantage in environments where hesitation can be costly. The power of vision is amplified when paired with action. Vision alone is not enough. It must be coupled with persistent execution, willingness to endure pain, and the compounding effect of daily effort. Without action, vision remains an abstract dream, but when combined with relentless work, it becomes a force that shapes reality. Vision guides strategy, informs choices, inspires teams, and sustains effort through adversity. It acts as both a destination and a compass, turning chaos, struggle, and effort into structured progress toward meaningful achievement.